Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the PC Elitist. My name is Woodsy.
My name is Shepard.
This is a channel dedicated to all things PC gaming, the greatest platform for gaming. We used to say that all the time.
We did.
And I think we should say it more often because, you know what? I've heard in radio you're supposed to repeat your message every time, all the time, to your audience. That's what I've heard. So maybe we should do that.
And how's that going for the radio industry?
Radio's a thing. It's still definitely a thing.
Yeah, your best defense of something is, oh, it exists still.
Okay, fine. It doesn't do that well.
What's
okay.
The news?
The news, we're doing some news today, and an interesting bit of news. Mind you, Shepard does most of the news finding, so because I'm lazy. So he finds all the news, and then I greenlight it or not. That's basically how it works. But he found this story from IGN, basically that outlines. Is this confirmed or is this just rumor?
This is it. Sony has announced it, so this is news.
Okay, this is for sure news, which I think is a cool idea that they're thinking of just having or going to have a one payment structure for their entire catalog of PC online games. So like PlanetSide 2, DC Universe Online, EverQuest, and more. Maybe they'll add more later. You just pay $14.99, and that is your subscription to the Sony Online Entertainment. So you subscribe to SOE, and any game under the sun that you have purchased, you have a subscription to that game.
True, or if the game is free, in the case of PlanetSide 2, which you can buy a subscription for, that's more optional if you want to get some extra XP bonuses and various station cash, things like that. Rather than have 2 or 3 different SOE games and have to manage different subscriptions for each, if that's your fancy,
right.
You can just have one subscription to the publisher, to the developer, and it covers your the benefits of membership across the board.
Right.
And I like this. I think this, not only, if for no other reason than it simplifies administration on their end, for the user, this is a nice place to just go to one subscription model and have it cover all of your, and if the pricing, it sounds like there will probably be some kind of discount if you tie yourself into a longer plan, which almost every subscription model has. But really for the cost of, $13, $14, $15 a month, essentially the WoW subscription model, you can have these nice little benefits.
Right. I think it's interesting that they are announcing this at a time when a game like WildStar is coming out, and they're going to have a subscription model, and I know technically you might be getting subscriptions to more games for your buck in this structure, but I keep hearing that the subscription model as a rule is completely dead. You shouldn't even do it. Everyone should go to free-to-play or whatnot. Though that gets a lot of backlash in its own right. People don't like the idea of that someone's getting an advantage because they're paying for something. Mm-hmm. So I feel like free-to-play definitely has its place in a limited fashion, and I like the free-to-play model for the most part. However, I think it's interesting that among all this free-to-play stuff, when it's like gaining popularity, it's becoming so mainstream that Sony Online is saying, "Oh, we're gonna institute a subscription, but you're gonna get kind of more for your subscription."
Yeah, and I think it really depends on how you apply it. If it's an optional subscription that be it only applied to some of your games, not the free to purchase ones, or I think it's interesting that it currently can be optional. If you don't want these benefits, you don't have to subscribe.
Right.
And I know people who largely go away from subscriptions because in the end they said, if I play your game, like for people who have played World of Warcraft, they've bought each of the expansions and they've been paying a monthly fee. Over the course of a few years, you've put several $100s into that game. Granted, if you're playing it a lot, you are getting some kind of return on your investment, certainly.
Right.
But I do think it's interesting that this is kind of a hybridization of they have a free-to-play game in PlanetSide 2 that has microtransactions, but they also offer subscriptions. So I'm all for companies trying things out like this, and they're certainly going to get some of the best feedback in the entertainment business because gamers will let you know when they like or don't like something.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. What I'm curious about is usually it's something of bragging rights. which we all know when we hear a free to play game say, we have so and so amount of, we have 300,000 accounts with our game, or what, 1 million accounts with our game. If it's a free to play game, those numbers are always inflated because tons of people probably create an account once, play it once, never play it again.
Yeah,
But you
almost
could,
everyone will take a flyer on a free game.
right, like PlanetSide 2, how many people are actively playing in any given weekend, through the rest of the week is I don't know if that number is actually ever told. And then, but on top of that, like, WoW always got the popularity or the bragging rights of, we've had at one point more than 10 million people subscribed, literally paying them on a monthly basis,
Yeah, right.
which is crazy. But so let's say like DC Universe Online, they get the advantage of, I mean, people are subscribed to Sony Online. They're not subscribed to your specific game. So do you get the bragging rights of people that you're like part of the SOE family? So, I mean, because people aren't subscribed to you, they're subscribed to SOE. You know what I mean? Like the specific game doesn't get any bragging rights because people have their SOE subscription, and then you have the ability to play any number of these games. So I think it's interesting just that you're not subscribing to something specific. It's almost like a service, like Netflix.
Yeah, and I think that's what's interesting about the subscription model. We're moving away from products being commoditized into services. And even now, we're not at the point where operating systems are like this, but Microsoft Office,
Right.
you use the newest versions of them. If you can have Office, and rather than buy it for $100 or $120, you pay a monthly fee for it, and it turns the product into a service. And that's because Microsoft said, well, people are buying our productivity suite and keeping it for 10 years, and we only saw that one-time purchase.
Right.
We're not getting anything for it. So it's an interesting shift as things go digital and things go streaming and things go more service-based on a month-to-month.
You could almost say that that's true when every time you sign a license agreement by buying something off of Steam, because you don't really own the game. You're signing a license agreement between, you're licensing the game.
That's why, not to get too far kind of off track, but that's why a lot of people, don't like buying games that through a distribution site like that, but that's why a lot of people still prefer to buy the physical disc.
Yeah.
And why people rebel against always online games is because I want to be able to play this thing when my internet goes down. I want to be able to fire it in the CD, install it, and play it, and not have to be tied to the ability to download it or access my profile.
Right. Well, this actually works out well because our next story has to do with Microsoft considering making digital games cheaper, which is the ultimate advantage of actually having a digital marketplace where you're licensing games instead of buying the physical disc. So that's the advantage we get with Steam. I think we all know the advantage of using Steam, even though some people don't like Steam because they see it as a DRM. But oftentimes you get games at a heavy discount, and now Microsoft is even considering doing that with the Xbox One and making digital games cheaper.
Yeah, and this is something that gamers have been calling for ever since digital distribution came out. The logic of the fact that really it's just a matter of making multiple copies of a file.
Right.
And how fundamentally different that is from reproducing individual packages of a game that has a individual disc in it. And so people are saying the logic of charging the same price, or in some cases more, for the digital version of a game just doesn't hold up. And so to hear Microsoft, of all companies, consider this, I think tells you just how much public support there is for it, and how really you create the game. Once you have the first version, there are unlimited copies that you can sell.
Right.
So I'm glad to see that Microsoft is considering it. It remains to be seen how it's going to be implemented, if it's going to be implemented. But this is something we've all wanted for a long time. An entirely separate discussion. I know in the comments of this particular article, people are talking about being able to trade in or return games. I think that that's an important discussion, but it's tangential to this one. I think the point is we need to focus first on if a AAA game is worth $60, I don't know what a digital download should be worth, but I should not be paying. To me, either you are gouging me or you are losing money on the physical copy.
Right.
And since games have been priced that way at physical copies for quite a while, it's been this pretty steady model. It tells me that you are gouging.
I think there's almost, for me, there's something subconscious when I see a AAA game come out on Steam, and it's $60 or whatever. I feel like I can't. I just in good conscience can't pay $60 for a game, knowing that I feel like I'm paying for stuff I'm not using, like distribution, and advertising and a bunch of stuff that a physical copy requires you to do, going out to storefronts and whatnot. And I feel like my cost is being inflated, and there's just something about it. It doesn't. It just it's really permeated my consciousness where when I see a $60 price tag, I really have no interest in paying that much for a video game anymore.
Yeah, I'm now of the mind where I say, is this something that I can wait to go on sale for a Steam sale, even if it's down to $50 or $40?
Right.
I just know that some place will offer it for less. I'm certainly happy to give my money to developers I support, and I'll pay AAA price for, I pay AAA price for BioShock Infinite, but yeah, we've come to a point where we expect digital games to be cheaper, and it's becoming, I think, increasingly common for them to be cheaper. So this is interesting that a big fish like Microsoft is considering doing it.
Yeah. Well, that should be like literally that's what should be the trade-off is that I don't get a physical box anymore, and I don't get a physical CD, or disc, which people like. But on the other hand, I get a cheaper product. For a lot of games, that hasn't been the case. It's just, yeah, the digital version is just as much as the physical version, in which case you technically get a little more with the physical version because you're actually getting materials and a disc that's yours, and the digital version, you just get the digital version, which you may or may not be able to return depending on what.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true. But you and I are capitalists, so the value of something is determined at the time of transaction. So if I pay $60 for it, it's worth $60.
that's right. Which The Witcher 3 will be worth $60. I won't mind putting out $60 for The Witcher.
And I'll pay $100 for it.
Speaking of games that are in their third sequel, there's a game that is allegedly
like a 10-year-old port, your transitions get better and better.
No. Left 4 Dead 3. This is allegedly being created as reported by IGN today. Is it today?
Yeah, today. And this is a rumor that's been out for a while. But
right.
Apparently there's a new leak that shows one of the Left 4 Dead 2 maps being rebuilt using the Source 2.0 engine. And I know that there's been news surrounding Left 4 Dead 3, and a lot of people have been calling for it, although there are many out there who say Valve does not do second sequels. They make a game, and
That's right.
number 2, and they do not make number 3. And the people who are saying, if this is true, then you have to make Half-Life 3, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I didn't want to make a big deal about this, except to say I really want Left 4 Dead 3 to come out, and I want the cast of characters to be the Midnight Riders.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's
and I'm
awesome.
not the first to suggest that, but I think it would just be an outstanding game.
Now, would you be interested in is them as a sequel important to you enough? Like, if the third one came out, would you want to play 1 and then play 2 and then play 3 in one big, or would it not matter to you?
Not really. I never really cared a great deal for all of the characters. I had a special connection to Bill in the first game, and
who died.
The fact that he got killed in the second one really made me sad for about a week or so.
Right.
But no, I don't feel as strongly about the characters. There's not really a narrative that kind of ties them all together in a way that makes me want to play through 1, 2, and 3. But I think this is a game, though, that in 10 or 15 years, I could go back and easily play Left 4 Dead and still see it as a great first game. There are plenty of times where I go back and say, okay, like Darksiders. The original Darksiders, I think, is fun, but Darksiders 2 is so much better to me. And so it makes it harder to play the original. Max Payne, I think, is very similar. But I think that the first Left 4 Dead was rock solid. Left 4 Dead 2 was improved upon. Right. So I think that the trajectory of this franchise is just astronomical. And I wouldn't want them to just make a game for a third one for the sake of making it, but we've seen that Valve doesn't really do that.
I think
they make games that they want to play.
Yeah, the sporadic nature of the games that they come out with makes me believe that they only make a game when they feel like making a game, and no other time. Like you can't. No amount of outcry from the community will make Valve make a game. This just won't
Right.
happen. I
Right.
do think it's interesting that they've been working on a new engine, or Gabe Newell has been quoted way back in 2012 that they're working on a new engine. They have been for a while. It seems to be that all these rumors coming out while the new systems were coming out, that this might have been just very calculated on Valve's part, that we're not going to bother with a new engine until we have new hardware that we can mass put out to in mass. Like, why are we going to make a new engine that will only be on PC for so long when we could devout and, put out a new engine that's going to be playable on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and the PC all at the same
Yeah.
time. So I don't think the timing of this is at all.
An accident?
No, not at all.
Nope. Of course not.
This last news story I have is just awesome because we love indie titles and we love certain games just capture our imagination, and I love seeing success stories when people really deserve it, and that's Don't Starve, which is a game that is one of those games I wish I was like a 12-year-old where I could just pour hours and hours into video games, and this would be one of the games I would pour a lot of time into. But I just don't have the time to always play Don't Starve.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. This is a game we reviewed for True PC Gaming a while back in 2013, and it's now over a million people playing it. At the end of 2013, they had surpassed a million players, and it's had a lot of success on the PlayStation 4. The Clay Entertainment, the developers are considering pushing it out to the PlayStation Vita, which I don't know why. Only 7 people in the world have a PlayStation Vita, but no, I like seeing this. This is a great success story for a developer who made a game that, and you played it more than I did, but talk about a game that focused almost entirely on core mechanics and built a game around that core.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I love games that just have that. To me, and we actually, were having a discussion about this previously before this recording, but there is this marriage between mechanics and storytelling that is just beautiful in video games. It's just like this stunning achievement when it happens. But to me, I feel like I'll always fall backwards where if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick mechanics over a storyline. I'd rather have something that plays well and it has intriguing mechanics. That is one of those things where you're at work all day and in your head you're like rolling through different strategies that you want to use next time you're able to log on to that specific game. And to me, that's where I would rather be video game wise than a really great storyline. And it might just be that you could get great storylines in all sorts of places. You get them in books and you get them in movies. But game mechanics that work well, like Don't Starve, you can only get in video games. So I'm happy to see a game like this kind of be successful. I always felt like Minecraft was missing that, just the depth of the world itself. Like, it was always cool that you kind of build stuff and have basically virtual Legos, but I felt like the world itself, what the monsters do and how you interact with them and things you can like explore outside of just caves, and what your character's abilities were, was very lacking in Minecraft, whereas Don't Starve seemed to do away with the world customization and more into, even though you can customize the world to a limited extent, really get into like, this is how these creatures work, and these are how these creatures work, and they interact with each other in this way, and the spiders don't like the pigs, and you could do, like there's all this stuff that happens, and it's constantly discovering new things, so it's really cool. So, I like it. I'm proud of. I'm glad you said. Was it Clay?
Clay.
Clay. I'm glad you said it because I don't know how to pronounce it.
That's all right.
And also, just real quick before we go, because this is running a little long, I'm excited that today, as of this recording, tonight I will be playing Broken Age, which I'm really excited about. Tim Schafer's game, but it's only part 1, which I'm disappointed at. But this is going to be interesting. I think this is the first game outside of Star Citizen's, going in the hangar or whatnot, but literally playing like a full version of a game that was kickstarted, I believe. So it's going to be an interesting experience.
Good on you.
Anyway, that was our new segment for this week. My name is Woodsy.
My name is Shepard. This is the PC Elitist signing out.